All righty. Thank you all so much for being here. Sorry we couldn't give you a more beautiful day, but you know, it's just sort of what you get in Denver every day. Really excited to launch this partnership today. I want to say a couple of things about our broader housing strategy, what we're doing and why we're doing it, and why today's announcement is such an important part of that. As you all know, there are multiple ways for us to go about trying to solve the crisis that is working families in Denver being able to afford to live in Denver. And that includes both trying to reduce regulations to make it easier to build more housing. That's why you will have seen us launch the Denver Permitting Office. That's why we have the AHART program that accelerates the permitting process for building housing, because we know time is money when you're building housing, so speed to permitting matters. The other thing we can do is to help reduce the cost of building housing, and that is what today is about. And of course, the third part is, yes, investing in more affordable housing, but investing in affordable housing in partnership with other private investors, so it reduces the total amount of public dollars that we put in. So it's really about reducing regulations and making it go faster. It is about reducing the cost of building, and then it is also about making sure that we can put public investment in. What we are announcing today is that today we are going to launch a new partnership to bring on more housing for middle-class families, and to do it without having to invest new city dollars to make that possible. And here is how we do it. Together with a partnership with the Denver Housing Authority, which we're very excited about, we will launch today a program to build housing for families making from about $60,000 to $100,000. I am making a new commitment, thanks on Jamie Rice's advice from me. I'm not going to talk about AMI levels ever again when we talk about housing, because you know what? Those of us that do the job every day forget what those numbers mean. So all I'm going to talk about is, how much does someone make who lives in this housing? This is targeting folks who make $60,000 to $100,000. So that means, I had a friend last week who was so proud because they got their daughter all the way through high school. She got into DU. She went to DU for 4 years. She graduated. They threw the big party for her. She got a job. She's going to be a social worker working in Denver. She's so excited because she's making $64,000 in that job. And then the mom's like, she can't find a place to live in this city. That is exactly the problem. These are folks that have done all their hard work. They've gotten a great job. They're providing for this city. They're working as teachers and nurses and firefighters and servers at your favorite restaurant. And right now, the city is too expensive for them to live. This middle-class housing is about supporting those working folks who want to stay in the city. And Jamie and Joaquin will talk you through more the details and structure of how this works, but this is going to allow us to bring on more and more housing units for folks that are working in Denver from $60,000 to $100,000 of income, and to be able to offer property tax rebates to folks that are going to commit to building this type of housing. What that means is, if you are a developer or an investor who said, you know, I'd always wanted to be able to do affordable housing, but I couldn't make the math pencil. This now makes that math pencil by providing that tax relief that makes it possible for people to get into building middle-class housing that weren't doing it before. That means more affordable housing for Denver workers. It means more neighborhoods you can afford to live in, and it means more people who've called Denver home for a long time who can stay, their kids can stay, their parents can stay, and the city stays vibrant and diverse in all the ways we want it to be. So that is why we are so excited about this effort that we're launching today. Super grateful for Joaquin and our friends at DHA for both being incredible partners and for hosting us today. I am going to give it over to Jamie Rife, who is the brains of the operation, who runs our housing department here at Denver and has been the critical partner in building and designing this effort. Thank you so much, Jamie. I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning, everybody. This is a really exciting day. As the mayor alluded to, it is really difficult to create housing for a lot of working Denverites. And so today, this partnership will allow us to do a couple of things. Number one, what will happen on July 15th, developers, mark your calendars, July 15th, we will open up on HOST's website a portal to be able to apply, submit a letter of intent for this new program. What that allows HOST to do is review these applications, look at them and say, okay, these projects who have this tax exemption will be able to pencil, will be able to build them because of this program. And we will underwrite those programs and send them to our friends at DHA, who have what I like to call the superpower of being able to give property tax exemptions to these programs. We are hoping during this first kind of phase, we will have 5 projects or about 500 units that otherwise would not be doable here in Denver for people, again, like the mayor said, making about $60,000 to $100,000 a year. So that are some of the details. We're very, very grateful to our friends at DHA for being able to partner with us on this new program, and really look forward to creating more and more housing through this no-cost program to the city, and be able to open doors for working class Denverites. Thank you. With that, I'm going to hand it over to Joaquin.
Good morning.
Good morning.
What a beautiful day, right? Yeah, that's this is a great day, and you know, as I always do, I do not want to share any specific remarks without recognizing the people, the individuals that are allowing me the opportunity to be standing here at this very moment. So number one, I just want to thank you, the media, for taking your time to joining us and to, you know, helping us, sharing the great news, the great things that are happening in our community. Erin, that will, yeah. Thank you. So thank you, the media, for not only asking the tough questions when necessary, but also for joining us when we have really amazing things to share in the best interest of the people that we so proudly serve. I want to also recognize our friends at Host, specifically our great Executive Director, Jamie Rife, Adam Lyons, Deputy Director of Housing Opportunity, Alex Marchese, Acting Development Director, and of course, my amazing DHA real estate team, specifically Erin Clark, whose leadership has been very essential in terms of making all of this happening. Athena Lovato, whose leadership has been instrumental in making sure that the existing special limited partnership programs is successful. And of course, Sean Garvey, our development manager, who is going to be managing directly this companion program, as we're calling it, the Middle Income Special Limited Partnership pilot that we are launching today. So today is not business as usual. Today, we make it clear the housing industry in Denver is evolving. And the Denver Housing Authority, in partnership with Mayor Mike Johnston and the City and County of Denver, is leading that evolution. I applaud Mayor Johnston's vision for housing because he understands that housing is about dignity, it is about opportunity, and it is about justice. Thank you, Mayor Johnston, for allowing us to be part of your vision. For too long, a critical segment of our community, I am talking about middle-income families and individuals, have been shut out of housing solutions. These are people who teach our children, respond to our emergencies, keep our city clean, and our infrastructure moving. These are the people who make Denver work. Teachers, nurses, bus drivers, and city workers, individuals earning between $50,000 and $100,000, and families earning up to $185,000. They have been pushed to the margins. They earn too much for traditional affordable housing, yet far too little to compete in Denver's skyrocketing housing market. And when housing costs are out of reach, the American dream becomes exactly that, a dream. So in response, today, I am proud to join Mayor Johnston, Executive Director Rife, and everybody that is supporting this effort in launching a bold new solution, the Middle Income Housing Special limited partnership pilot. An innovative model that directly addresses this missing middle, a solution that is not theory. This pilot is targeted, data-driven, and proven in principle. We are building this pilot on the back of a powerhouse, DHA's existing Special Limited Partnership Program. Thank you, Athena. A cornerstone of our success in supporting and helping deliver low-income housing tax credit developments across the city. And to provide perspective, throughout the existing program, so far, DHA has provided support to 90 active projects, representing more than 85,000 housing units that have been delivered through the existing program. We have nearly 2,000 units already in the pre-application process for Q2 of 2025 alone. That is what execution looks like. That is what scalable success looks like. And now we are using that same proven model to deliver for the middle income families who have waited for far too long. This new pilot provides developers with the same tax exemptions and financial tools that have made our LIHTC pipeline so successful. And in return, we demand a commitment to long-term affordability, 30 years minimum. It is a win for developers, it is a win for families, and it is a win for the future of Denver. That is why this pilot matters. It is not just a policy. It is a declaration that housing is a right, not a luxury reserved for the wealthy or subsidized only for the very poor. And we are doing this the right way. Number one, the projects will be focused on displacement-prone neighborhoods. Number two, we are targeting family-sized units, green building design, and transit-oriented development. And number three, the Denver Housing Authority will retain public oversight by serving as a special limited partner on each deal, ensuring integrity and alignment with community needs. My friends, this is innovation in action. This is government and development aligned for the public good, following the vision of Mayor Johnston for housing and the tools and resources that we can provide as a meaningful partner. And make no mistake, if this pilot succeeds, and it will become a permanent tool in our arsenal. One that cities across the nation will look to as a model for bridging the affordability gap. That is how important this program is, and this announcement this morning, for which I thank you, media, for being here with us to share the great news. We are not waiting for the market to correct itself. We are not waiting for others to solve the crisis. DHA and the City and County of Denver are doing what trailblazers do. We are acting boldly, responsibly, and with purpose. To conclude, I want to reiterate that as the next step, round one letters, as Director Rife was mentioning, round one letters of intent open on July 15, and approvals will be expected to be provided by late 25, early 2026. Lastly, to our development partners, this is your opportunity to lead. If you're serious about equity, about housing innovation, about impact, this is your moment. Let's build something extraordinary together. And to our residents, I want to say, we hear you. We hear you. We see you. And we are building for you. With every tool, every partner, and every ounce of urgency we have. Because Denver doesn't and will never stand still. And neither do we. So thank you so much for your attention. I just want to transition to introduce somebody that is very important to us. He gave us an opportunity to prove that this program works. And I know that he's going to talk to you about the impact that the program itself represent, but also, I mean, how through this program he has been put in a position to provide very much necessary community impact. So it is my pleasure to introduce to you Mr. Ivan Anaya. He is the president of the Mountain West Region for Columbia Ventures. Ivan.
Thank you, Joaquin. And Mayor Johnston, Dr. Reif, I also just want to thank you as well as DHA and staff of DHA, staff of HOST for being such proactive, trusted, and values-driven public partners. Columbia Ventures focuses on public-private partnerships. That is what affordable housing is. It's not possible without a public-private partnership. All three Ps are really important. The public side is critically important. The private side has got to do what we say we're going to do, and it's got to work in partnership. And so, thank you for trusting Columbia Ventures and for being great partners to us. We build service-enriched housing that responds to the needs of our neighbors, our community partners, and to the city as a whole. In the last 5 years, through the Special Limited Partnership Program with DHA, we've achieved gap reductions in affordable housing projects of over $11 million, which has resulted in over 300 units for families and seniors. It's also helped us develop community impact space within each of those projects that is well over 35,000 square feet. And so while the housing is important, the services that are able to be provided on the ground floor of each of the buildings that we develop are just as important. And so we are grateful for that as well. So that translates to approximately 2,200 units, $2,200 per unit per year in tax exemption or tax savings. On our 152 unit Being a Senior project, which will break ground next month, that translated specifically to using the 2024 mill levy, $394,000 a year in operational expense reduction. That means we were able to borrow $5 or $6 million more to be able to get the project done. So when we talk about a program like this helping us pencil a project, Being a Senior, 152 units with an 8,000 square foot senior center in an area that doesn't have any services for seniors or housing, affordable housing for seniors, would not be happening. We wouldn't be breaking ground next month. So I do applaud both the city for its partnership as well as DHA for its partnership in helping us get that project going. And that's not to mention other benefits that come with the Special Limited Partnership. There's reductions, sales and use tax at the state level. There are reductions in other fees that the city otherwise would charge to be able to get these projects going. Those fees are important. We know where the city's budget is, and so we appreciate that type of investment in affordable housing is so intentional, Mayor. And I want to say that personally, thank you. So how does that translate to middle income? We are currently developing a 330 unit project on the Auraria campus, also a P3 development. And that 330 unit development will benefit from, if we're accepted as one of the projects in the program, would benefit from $800,000 a year in tax savings. And so that translates over 15 years. If you just take a 3% inflation factor on that, over 15 years, that's more than $15 million in operating expenses that allow us to keep the units between 60 and 100% AMI, which is exactly what we're targeting for that project. It also will allow us to build a state-of-the-art new early learning center for the Auraria campus, Colorado Shines Level 5 early learning center. They'll expand their capacity by 30% as a result, and so not only is it affordable housing, but it's also affordable childcare that is going to be taking place on that at that project. So this is a model worth expanding. I appreciate the partnerships on the affordable housing side. Look forward to seeing this new program take place at the middle income or middle class level, and this directly translates to combat what we call the Colorado paradox, right? Colorado consistently ranks highly from an education standpoint. We have very highly educated people, but we struggle to retain and promote homegrown talent. And so a project on the Auraria campus that provides 330 units not only targets the Colorado paradox, but it also makes the city more attractive. It makes the campus more attractive, not just to students, but to faculty and staff, top talent that otherwise may be looking at other markets, other universities to take their talents. And so thank you again for the partnership. Aaron Clark, Athena, thank you for the work. Sean Garvey on Vigna Senior, as well as Vigna Apartments, and as well as Dr. Reif. Alex and your team have been great to work with as well, and we look forward to breaking ground next month. I'm gonna turn it back. Yep. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'll just say one more thing, then open up to questions. Today is a big win for Denver middle-class families, because what we are going to do is commit to building a lot more housing in this city where middle-class families can afford to live. And we're going to do it without having to invest new city resources to make it possible, which means we can make sure there is more and more supply of housing where working Denverites can stay and live and make this their home. And that is our goal, and that's why we're so excited about today's announcement. Let me say one more thing, because I know there are some very smart journalists in the room who all are thinking about the math of this. The reason why this is so important is, if you think about right now, this is a tool that we've used historically to build deeply affordable housing. If you are building housing for someone that makes $20,000 a year, then yes, we use tax abatement as one of the tools. But that's not enough for folks that have that much need. You have to do that, plus you need LIHTC credits, plus you need Prop 123, plus you probably need some grant dollars to make that whole stack work. What's amazing about this is taking this tool that's worked and launching a new program focused on middle-class families. And when you're talking about folks that do make $60,000 or $80,000 or $90,000 a year, they don't need a lot of subsidy. They need a little bit of subsidy, which means the property tax abatement is in itself enough to build housing in perpetuity. Yes, I just said that and made Joaquin very nervous. But the idea is, this does not, if the federal government collapses tomorrow, if the state government collapses tomorrow, if federal subsidies disappear, if there aren't enough federal subsidies to build the amount of housing we have in Denver, none of those stop us anymore from solving the problem. This tool alone for middle-class families is enough to bring on the housing we need to deliver the affordability the city demands. That is game-changing. And that's why we're so excited about it, and that's why Denver takes control of our own destiny here to say we can make sure this is a city where middle-class families can always afford to live, no matter what else happens around the country. So that's why today matters, that's why the stakes are so high, and that's why this is showing a lot of times you can solve problems without needing a big state bailout or a federal bailout or a massive new city investment. We can do it by finding creative ways to use tools we have and partners we have on needs that we have, and today we'll do that. So with that, I will stop. Happy to open questions from any of the members of the media, from me or whoever else can be helpful. Yes, Kyle.
So, I'm doing the math. I don't know
Yes,
if
sir.
it's smart, but help me out here. Okay, with the tax rebate, presumably those taxes would there wasn't a rebate to be going back into the city.
Correct.
Looking at, $250 million budget right now.
Yes.
Do you have the hard math of how many taxes we're going to be losing through the rebates? And then any projections about like other spending that might be associated with people being able to stay here?
Yeah, so the key is, as both Jamie and Joaquin described, is this is housing that will not get built absent of this tool, which is right now, a market rate developer would not build a unit at $1,400 a month when you can build the same unit at $2,000 a month, unless there is an incentive to make that math work, and this does that. So what would happen is, absent this, we wouldn't see new construction of units of this sort. We wouldn't have those families that stay. I haven't done the complex economic analysis, but we do know, Kyle, is what that would mean is these are families that would otherwise now move to Thornton or move to Broomfield and then try to commute back and forth to their job in Denver or leave a job in Denver. So the economic impact of not just that person being in that unit paying the rent, but them paying sales tax here, property tax here, income tax here, those all really matter. So we think that is an existential need for the city. And so we can tell you, I mean, Yvonne had an example of what the property tax abatement would mean specifically for their project, which could be up to, I think, $800,000 a year, you were saying. And so, and that's how many units?
So 24 to 2,500.
So that's 2,500 units, $2,500 per unit. Yeah, so it's about $2,000 per unit per year, potentially having a property tax savings. But that's spread across a whole bunch of city expenditures. Some of those are public schools, some of those are the city and others. And so we think the return is great on those dollars because the benefit of someone staying and adding to the economy is far bigger than the property tax loss. And it's not revenue we're counting on in the current budget, so it is not a cut on our projected revenues for 25, 26, 27, any of those years. So the math sort of, it's all added bonus for us. It's not in our current math. Other questions? Yes.
This might be better for Joaquin or
Most things probably are better for them than for me.
does DHA having like an ownership component in the deal, does it keep the property at a certain AMI level for a certain amount of time as a result? How do you ensure that the properties stay at that AMI for a long period of time?
So number one of the most important purposes of this is just that, to ensure affordability over the long term. So that is something that needs to be part of these, agreements, and specifically on a deal-by-deal basis. As we receive those proposals and we evaluate those proposals, we make sure that that is a component to it. DHA will participate as a special limited partner. So that is our participation into the whole deal itself. With that, as I was explaining, we retain that right to always making sure that, number one, those opportunities that we are providing through the tax exemptions are utilized in the best interest of the community within the parameters that are existing within the Special Limited Partnership Program. And as part of that, I believe that, in the same way that we have been doing all the way up until today, where we have helped to deliver to this community about 8,500 apartments throughout 90 different development projects. I think that it is not only a proven model, but one that is opening to us an opportunity to do more for a piece of the population that is in true need right now. So that is what we are aiming to do today right now, and I think that more than announcing this, I think that we are very intentional in making sure that this is a success so we can grow this program from where it is going to be right now.
Just to add a little bit to that, so part of the SLP program is that it puts a 30-year restriction on the unit. So for 30 years, it must be affordable. What we anticipate is that a project will need up to 15 years of tax exemption on property taxes, but we think it'll be closer to about 10 years per project. So again, as part of the underwriting process, we look at in exchange for 30 years restricted on a unit, what do they need in property tax exemptions? And then that's how we kind of weigh everything. Is that helpful? Okay. Thank you.
We're modeling collaboration here.
There you go. Hi, everyone. I'm Erin Clark, Chief Real Estate Investment Officer here at DHA. And just wanted to share that with respect to that ownership piece specifically. So yes, as a special limited partner, DHA, we have it's through state statute that we have this authority, and we typically do it at 0.01% of the ownership of the development group there. So we get into their overall org chart, but we would take a 0.01% interest in that deal so that we are showing up as an owner in that particular property. And then to the other point, we typically there's a right of first refusal that goes with that as well. And so these are ways that we're ensuring that long-term affordability and that we are formally a part of the ownership of that deal. And to the earlier point, we only do this as stewards of public dollars and of tax revenues if we can prove that but for this particular form of investment, this housing would not be built. And so we continue throughout a deal to keep reviewing those financials as well to make sure that that is still true for us to stay in.
Great question. Any others that we have? Yes, Kyle.
I'm going to ask a question that a reader just asked me, which is they're seeing all these cranes up in the city. We're
Few
seeing
skyline
some
cranes.
units, some of which have high vacancy rates. And the reader was wondering, do we have enough housing in the city? And then in terms of affordable housing, how many units behind are we? I know that's a number you all track.
We don't have enough housing in the city, and we don't have enough housing in the city that is deed restricted to stay affordable. So we are about, last I checked, about 40,000 units short of what we would call deed restricted affordable housing. And what that means is just you don't have to pay more than 30% of what you make in rent, even if you're making $60 or $70 or $80 or $90,000 a year. And so the focus here is, and also what we like about this is this allows a developer to build mixed income development. So you might have 100 units in your building. You might decide only 30 of them are you going to apply to be in our program. 30 of those units would be deed restricted to be for a middle class family. The other 70 could be market rate. Will only property tax abate those that are affordable, but it still allows for mixed income development, which we think is healthy for the city. And so I like to say that beauty is you walk into that building and there's two apartments on the same floor and a doctor walks into one and a nurse walks into the other and they both have the exact same finishings. One of them we tax abated to make permanently affordable. The other is a market rate unit, but they're both Denverites who add a ton to the city that we want to make sure stay here. That's 40,000 affordable units over the next 10 years. Am I ballpark still correct on that number? Great. Hopefully it hasn't gotten dramatically worse since I checked on it last time. Other questions?
One more?
Great. Go for it. Trifecta.
I don't want to hug this. So, Dr. Rife, this is kind of a question for you, I think, which is, we're seeing this fascinating trend. Street homelessness is down. General homelessness in the metro is way higher than it's been in a while. Some of the shelter homelessness seems to have to do with the bottleneck that's happening where people are in the shelters, but there's nowhere really to place them. And I'm curious, with that context in mind, with this particular demographic, 60 to 100, what's the risk of homelessness for that population if they're to stay in Denver?
For the 60 to 100%?
Yeah, and are we seeing that right now?
Yeah, I think we're seeing, again, a lot of particularly families enter homelessness for economic reasons. I think one of the things that I'm really excited about for this program is we know a lot of people who are making this income level tend to rent more naturally occurring affordable housing. So if we can get them out of those lower cost units into units that more match what they're earning, that frees up a lot more affordable housing for people that are coming out of homelessness or have those lower incomes. It's called a moving chain where people move into an apartment that really meets their needs, and sometimes they're running down because there's not that. We have a lot of this and we have some of this, but this is where we're missing right now, so people can get into these units, and that frees up some of our more deeply affordable units. Thank you. Yeah, sure.
I would, really important question. That is a huge need in the pipeline. And I would say these units will not be directly targeting those folks that are exiting homelessness right now. They would generally be 30% of AMI, more of permanent supportive housing. But exactly what Jamie said, we know is there's not enough supply of housing for first-year teachers that work at DPS, and so they are taking units lower down in the affordability chain that otherwise would be available to someone that's exiting homelessness. And so the more that they have available at their income level, the more supply it opens up all across the chain. So that's why it's connected, but the real target for this would not be folks exiting homelessness. It's people with full-time jobs right now making salaries you'd be proud for your kid to have before your kid told you what it cost to rent in the apartment that she's trying to rent. So I think that's the place we're really focusing, and this is a game changer for that population of the city. Huge thanks to DHA. Thank you so much, Yvonne, for being here. Thank you all for joining us. Today is a great day for Denver. Can't wait to see more and more units coming up around the city where more and more of our neighbors can afford to live and stay. Thank you so much for being here.